open. That's why.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إنا أعطيناك الكوثر فصل لربك وانحر إن شانئك هو الأبتر صدق الله العظيم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم مولاي صل وسلم دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم ثم الرضا عن أبي بكر وعن عمر وعن علي وعن عثمان ذي الكرم والآل وصحبه ثم التابعين فهم أهل التقى والنقى والحلم والكرم يا ربي بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا يا ربي بالمصطفى بلغ مقاصدنا يا ربي بلغ مقاصدنا فاغفر لنا ما مضى يا واسع الكرم مولاي صل دائما أبدا على حبيبك خير الخلق كلهم اللهم صل وسلم وبارك عليه نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وأقم الصلاة لذكري صدق الله مولانا العظيم وبلغنا رسوله النبي الكريم ونحن على ذلك لمن الشاهدين والشاكرين والحمد لله رب العالمين. First of all, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us this another great opportunity to continue our lessons. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept our attendance, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us learn and understand Islam and practice on what we learn, inshallah. Last week we discussed about shurut salah, the conditions of prayers, and we learned that the conditions of prayers are three: al-Islam, al-Bulugh, al-Aql. And also we talked about from which age should parents order their children to perform namaz, to perform prayers, and from which age should they be more serious and more severe on their children to make them have the habit of performing namaz. Do you have any question about previous lessons? No question. So today we are going to take another two things. And before that also, last week we discussed about the reasons why namaz is obligatory in terms of its times. And we say that asbabuha awqatuha, namaz becomes first as soon as the time of that namaz. In general rule, namaz it is first in terms of maturity, in terms of understanding, in terms of having sound mind. So we have three conditions for namaz to be obligatory on someone, that is al-Bulugh, al-Islam, and al-Aql. But in terms of practical performing the namaz, so the obligation of namaz starts as from the time of that namaz appears. So when a certain time of any namaz appears, that is the beginning of the obligation of that particular namaz. So we say the reasons of this namaz and these obligations are the times of the prayers. And also we say that the obligation is not fixed on the beginning or in the beginning of the prayer. The obligation is extended, meaning that from the beginning of that particular namaz till the end of the time of that namaz, someone is flexible and is allowed to perform namaz as long as he or she is in the campus or in the parameter of that time. So the obligation is there, but it is extended obligation. You can perform the namaz as soon as you are comfortable being in that parameter of that time. So once you perform namaz before the time, so that namaz will not be valid for that particular reason. For example, if you perform asr during the time of dhuhr, for example, so that namaz is not valid as asr because you have performed namaz outside or before the time of that namaz. And if you perform that namaz after its time also, that namaz does not valid as the namaz of that time, but it will have another name of qaza. It will be a qaza. I think these are things that we have all discussed, and as long as you don't have any questions, so we can continue, inshallah. So today we are going to continue the same timing of namaz. So we say that the namaz, the obligation of namaz is its time. The obligation of prayer is its time. When to perform prayer, when not to perform prayer. Which prayer is obligatory in which time, and which prayer is not obligatory in which time. So here we are going to understand that أوقات الصلوات المفروضة, the times of the obligatory prayers, the times of the obligatory prayers. Can you repeat with me? أوقات الصلاة المفروضة, the times of the obligatory prayers. والأوقات خمسة, the times are 5. The times of obligatory prayers are 5. So these are the only times that obligatory namaz is valid. And if you perform this namaz outside this time, it will be either qaza, but it will not be taken as the prayer of that time, as the prayer of obligatory prayer. So the first time is waqtu subhi, waqtu as-subhi, or you can read it waqtu subhi, the dawn prayer, fajr ki namaz, the fajr prayer. This is one time of the obligatory prayers. Waqtu subhi, we call it salatu subhi, salatu as-subhi, the dawn prayer or the fajr prayer or the subh prayer. So what is the exactly time of salatu subhi, salatu al-fajr? Does not mean that when it is morning you just wake up and perform namaz as long as you think that it is morning prayer. Even for the morning prayer you have a particular time that you can perform this namaz, and this namaz is going to be valid. And if you cross that time, this namaz is not going to be valid. So what is the parameter, what is the length of this subh prayer? So he says, min tulu'i al-fajri as-sadiqi. Can you read with me? Min tulu'i al-fajri as-sadiqi ila qubayli tulu'i al-shams. So this is the range of namaz al-fajr, from this time to that time. So this is the range and is the parameter and the time in which you should perform your Fajr prayer. If you perform it before this or after this, that namaz will not be called as a Fajr prayer. If you perform it later, it can be qaza, but it will not be meant for that ada. Ada is to perform namaz on its proper time. This is ada. Ada, it is to perform namaz on its proper time. And qaza is to perform namaz which is left, which is skipped, that you could not perform on its proper time, so you perform it later, that becomes qaza. But ada is the prayer that is performed on its proper time and proper moment according to Sharia and according to the way Sharia has described the proper time of that prayer. So what is the time of prayer? The parameter of Fajr prayer is min tulu'i al-fajr as-sadiqi, begins from true dawn, true morning, true subh, ila qubayli tulu'i al-shamsi, until just before sunrise. From the true dawn till just before sunrise. This is the time where you can perform your Fajr as ada. You got my point? What the difference between ada and qada? Qada is when you miss the time of that prayer, so you replace it as qada. And ada is that prayer which you perform in that time, in the proper time, the time allocated for that prayer. So you are not missing, you are performing that namaz according to the time and in the time. That is ada. So if you want to perform Fajr prayer as ada, so you have to perform it min tulu'il fajr as-sadiq, from the true morning, true dawn, ila qubayli tulu'i shams, just before sunrise. So by the tulu'il fajr as-sadiq, from the beginning of the al-fajr as-sadiq and just before the sunrise, that is the time where if you perform your Fajr prayer at that time, that Fajr will not be known as Qaza, it will be known as Ada, because you perform it on its proper time. But if you perform it after the sunrise, and also there is a ruling that from the time sun rises, to which length or to which time should you wait for you to perform a Fajr prayer? You understand? That is another ruling, inshallah. In our way, we will come to know about it. So if you perform your Fajr after the sunrise, that Fajr prayer will not be known as Ada. It will be Qaza. And also the Sawab of Ada is different from the Sawab of Qaza. If you perform your namaz exactly on its given time, allocated time, the Sawab is much more than the prayer you perform after the allocated time. Okay? So what is Fajr al-Sadiq? This is the question. Al-Fajr al-Sadiq. Al-Fajr al-Sadiq, we have seen in the translation here, means true dawn, true morning. So true is the opposite of false. Okay? True is the opposite of false or untrue. So it means there is one moment, one time which appears, which seems to be as morning, as Fajr. But that is known as Fajr al-Kadhib. Al-Fajr al-Kadhib. The untrue Fajr or the false Fajr. So the false Fajr, that is the time that you cannot perform your Fajr prayer at that time. Understand it? You can perform other tahajjud, for example, al-Fajr al-Kadhib. You can finish your sehri, whatever. Before al-Fajr al-Sadiq, you can eat and drink whatever in Ramzan. Eat and drink. But once the al-Fajr al-Sadiq appears, that is the end of whatever you want to do as a rosedar. If you are fasting, you cannot eat and you cannot drink, you cannot do anything that is against the rules of a sawm. So what is Al-Fajr Al-Kadhib? Al-Fajr Al-Kadhib, you can see on the note there, true dawn is when the sky around the horizon begins to increase in light. True Fajr. Okay? The true Fajr, because today we have lights and we have mobiles, we have so many means to know what time is the Fajr, what time is the sunrise, what time is the Zawal, what time is Istishraq, to which distance the sun has moved. We have all this technology today, but those days there was no this technology. There was the best of which I always take it as the best technology, that you keep yourself in the nature. Those moments and those days, the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, even maybe after 100 or 200 years after Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, there were not this technology which we are using today. So people used to approximate the time of prayer using the movements of moon and the movements of sun. And they were so expert in this that they used to see the horizons around them, and then they used to judge and to come up with the opinion that whether it is the time of the Fajr or it is the time of Tahajjud, whether the Fajr has already come or still we have time to perform our Tahajjud, etc. So Al-Fajr al-Sadiq is when you see around your horizon, astronomy on the skies, you'll see the clear spread of the light. Light, I don't mean about electrical light. The horizon, the light, the clouds will be very fine and very clear. So when you see, if you're in the jungle, for example, and it happens sometimes, it happens. And me, myself, I don't rely too much on this technology, especially in terms of when I go for seaside with my family or camping or whatever. I don't use the mobile to show me where Qibla is, because I don't believe in that. I don't trust it, because this is something which is it is a technology, and you cannot rely fully on this technology. So we have a very good parameter, which is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam has given for us. So if you are sleeping on seaside, no lights, no whatever, just wake up and see the atmosphere around you. If you see that the entire horizon is full of light, the clouds are clear and very fine, so you should understand that this is the time of Al-Fajr. So you can perform your Fajr nicely and just finish your Fajr. So what is Al-Fajr Al-Kabir? So Al-Fajr Al-Kabir, the untrue Fajr, is a light which appears before Fajr Sadiq, before the true Fajr. You can see the light on the horizons, but then immediately you see the darkness. It happens because I belong to a very backward village, and we used to sleep and wake up on this kind of darkness. So we know, I know myself, I have experienced this, and on this basis, my father, may Allah be pleased with him, there was no technology at that time, there was no mobile, no WhatsApp. This is the way we used to mark Fajr prayer. My father used to tell me that, okay, wake up, this is Al-Fajr Sadiq, this is Al-Fajr Kabir. How to know it? Just wait for some minutes, you'll see the darkness will cover the entire horizon. Darkness will cover the entire horizon. So we see the light, we see the light spreading on the horizon, then after a few minutes, you see the darkness have covered again. So my father used to tell us, this is the time of Fajr Al-Kabir. So it means up to now, the Fajr prayer is not valid, is not, you should not perform Fajr prayer this time. If you want to fast, you still have time to eat your sehri and drink, whatever. Then he tells us, wait. We used to go to the top of the masjid in my village. Then after another few minutes, 15 or 20 minutes, then he tells us, now see the entire horizon, the surrounding of your sky region is full of light, and this light will never be followed by darkness. It will be followed by sunrise. You understand? So we see that light, and then we know that it is the Fajr prayer. So whenever I go out, this is okay. I see the mobile whatever just to have an idea, but I rely more on this technique which Sharia has given to us. When it is morning, you wake up, you see it's still dark. Just wait for a while, and if you see the light has come on the horizon, still wait for a while. If you see some 7, 8 minutes, the light does not go and the light continues, so you should be assured that this is the time of Fajr, and this is the Fajr Sadiq in which you can perform your Fajr prayer. After a few minutes, if you see the light has gone, has vanished, and it has been followed by darkness, so you should know that this is not yet the Fajr prayer. Just go back and sleep if you want to sleep. Or if you want to do some wazifa, you do wazifa, which is very impossible when you go to seaside or camping, but some they do it. Okay. So this is the difference between Al-Fajr As-Sadiq and Fajr Al-Kabir. True dawn is when the sky around the horizon begins to increase in light. Before this, a dim light sometimes appears overhead, not ever, I've done a mistake with that. Overhead for several minutes, followed by the darkness, and And this is termed the deception down. Al-Fajr al-Kadib. It is deceiving and the deception down because it gives you a doka, I will say in Urdu. It lies to you. It tells you that this is Fajr by seeing the light. Then suddenly after several minutes you see the darkness has covered that light again. So that's why we call it Al-Fajr al-Kadib. And Al-Fajr al-Sadiq is that Fajr when the light appears in front of you. This light will continue and it will not vanish, and there's no darkness will follow this light. So this is the difference between Al-Fajr al-Sadiq and Fajr al-Kadib. So Waqtu Subhi, the dawn prayer, this is one among the 5 time of those 5 prayers. Any question here? Any question? G. Yes. After? After Fajr. Huh? I'm not getting you. I'm not getting you. Can you remove this when you talk, please? The time of Suhoor. Yeah. Suhoor. No, the time of Suhoor is before Fajr Sadiq. From Isha prayer till before Fajr Sadiq, this is the time of Suhoor. You can eat and drink whatever. But once Fajr Sadiq enters, that is the end of all eating and all drinking. So Sehri, you can do Sehri before Al-Fajr As-Sadiq. Before Al-Fajr As-Sadiq, you can do Sehri, you can eat if you want to fast. Okay? But after Al-Fajr As-Sadiq, that is the beginning of Roza. Okay? Fajr As-Sadiq, that is the beginning of Roza, yes. Any other question?
But if we can take it like this, just after Sehri time, is it possible to start Fajr time just after Sehri time?
No. What do you mean by just after Sehri time?
For example, when we see on the table, on the calendar.
Let us say, for example, the Sehri time ends 5:50.
5:50. 5:55 we can start Fajr.
No, even 5:51 you can start Fajr. Because the end of Sehri time, that is the beginning of Fajr. Okay? The end of Sehri, that is the beginning of Fajr, meaning that this end of the Sehri, you cannot eat or drink anything after that.
Yes.
It means that the Fajr Sadiq has started.
Yeah.
So you can start performing your Fajr prayer immediately after the end of the Sehri time. If the Sehri ends 1 o'clock, 5 o'clock, so 5:01 you can perform your Fajr. But here normally we have the system of timing, so we have some 5 or 10 minutes after the Sehri time, then we give azan, then after that we have all this. But if our ladies, our mothers and sisters at home, after their Sehri, you see this is the last time of Sehri, for example, 5:50, for example. So 5:50 you just stand up, perform your wuzu and go perform your namaz and go sleep if you want to sleep. So the end of the Sehri is the beginning of Fajr As-Sadiq. Yes.
Just to add on, if I'm correct, Ustad, there is a Quranic reference to this. I think Surah Baqarah. When I was trying to follow a bit where we have congregational prayers. If I'm not, I don't want to check it with you.
What there is?
In Surah Baqarah 130, if I may read.
What does it say?
فَصِبْرٌ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ قَبْلِ
وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. Can you start the ayat again? فَسَبِّحْ.
عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ.
No, فَسَبِّحْ, no, it cannot be فَسَبِّحْ. It will فَصْبِرْ.
Yes. فَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا يَقُولُونَ وَسَبِّحْ
بِحَمْدِ
رَبِّكَ
قبل طلوع الشمس وقبل الغروب.
بها. And then the rest, وَمِنْ
وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَتَهَجَّدْ بِهِ نَافِلَةً لَكَ.
That is the other thing. Before that, وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا.
وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَاسْجُدْ لَهُ. No, it is وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ فَاسْجُدْ لَهُ وَسَبِّحْ. It is like this. وَمِنْ آنَاءِ اللَّيْلِ فَسَبِّحْ وَأَطْرَافَ النَّهَارِ لَعَلَّكَ تَرْضَى.
So is there that indication of the rising sun? Does it correlate?
وَمِنَ اللَّيْلِ وَمِنْ آنَاءِ اللَّيْلِ وَأَطْرَافَ النَّهَارِ وأطراف النهار لعلك ترضى. This, it does not give the specific timing for prayer. It's giving the obligation of the prayer. That night and days, there are moments in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made prayers obligatory. Okay? That's why وَمِنْ آنَاءِ اللَّيْلِ آنَاءِ اللَّيْلِ, the times of night, وَأَطْرَافَ النَّهَارِ, and the sides of the day. So the sides of the day start from Asr, Zuhr, Asr and Maghrib. This is the side, the end of the days. Okay?
My question is,
yes, your question is?
Sorry.
No, it's okay, it's okay.
On the top one, وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا.
وَقَبْلَ غُرُوبِهَا.
Or is it طُلُوعِ الشَّمْسِ? Before the rising of the sun. Sorry, I took the English rendering, but I was trying to just...
Can you read the Arabic word, Arabic text?
I thought we saw you.
No, it's okay.
Wasabi. Sorry.
Gee, which ayat you told me? Surah? Which surah? Oh, भाई कौन सी सूरत? क्या हो गया? No, it's okay. No, this is it's my responsibility, it's my duty. I'm not offended by that. Feel free, brother. Which part of the ayat is it? Don't feel guilty. Why are you so emotional? Come on. Durud Sharif padhiye or read Durud Sharif and come on with the question. Or maybe you think I'm offended because of that?
It's 230.
Huh?
Quran 130.
No. The ayat you are talking about, which ayat is this? Which surah? Which surah?
Baqarah,
Surah Baqarah.
verse 130.
Surah Baqarah.
Verse 130.
130. Surah Baqarah 130. وَمَنْ يَرْغَبُ عَنْ مِلَّةِ. This is the last ruku of Al-Fulamin. 130.
Before that, start with tasbih up to Qadar. I started from tasbih and then
But in Surah Al-Baqarah, 130.
yeah, okay.
130 is not what you are telling me. It's إِذْ قَالَ
Maybe
له-
this part with
Huh?
maybe this part of it. I don't know whether I put it in.
I think the ayat you are talking about is...
Sorry.
No, it's okay, no problem. Don't feel be comfortable. We are here to learn from one another.
What is number?
Because the ayat you are giving,
132 or I don't know. Maybe I will.
130 is إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ. In Surah Al-Baqarah, you're talking about Al-Baqarah?
Yes.
Baqarah, the first surah, the second surah.
Yeah, but-
The second surah,
or is it 132? I don't know after that.
130 is إِذْ قَالَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ أَسْلِمْ قَالَ أَسْلَمْتُ لِرَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. So this has nothing to do with namaz. And 131 is ووصى بها إبراهيم بنيه ويعقوب يا بني إن الله اصطفى لكم الدين فلا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. The 32 أم كنتم شهداء إذ حضر يعقوب الموت إذ قال بنيه. It has nothing to do with namaz. The ayat which you are talking about, can you read it again? وسبح بحمد ربك قبل طلوع الشمس وقبل غروبها ومن آناء الليل وأطراف النهار لعلك ترضى. Then وأمر أهلك بالصلاة واصطبر عليها لا نسألك رزقا نحن نرزقك والعاقبة للتقوى.
I wrote only this part.
Yeah. You're giving challenge of my hips, huh?
No, is it a proper reference?
No, the ayat is okay, but the reference is wrong.
Is it 20?
आप लोग कोई तकलीफ तो नहीं है ना? Is it okay?
Was it 20? Wow.
Yeah, just one minute.
Oh, maybe I omitted this row. Maybe I omitted this row. I don't know now. 20, I think it's 20.
What 20?
Taha.
Surah?
Taha.
Surah Taha.
I omitted this.
So here you are.
20.
Yeah, ayat 128.
130.
ولولا كلمة سبقت من ربك لكان لزاما وأجل مسمى فاصبر على ما يقولون وسبح بحمد ربك قبل طلوع الشمس وقبل غروبها ومن آناء الليل فسبح وأطراف النهار لعلك ترضى ولا تمدن عينيك. So in this ayat Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says وسبح بحمد ربك, and glorify the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the praise of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala قبل طلوع الشمس, before the sunrise, وقبل غروبها, and before the sunset. So this is giving you the absolute time and the common time and the general time of prayers. That the 5 prayers will be between قبل طلوع الشمس and between قبل غروبها. So the night prayer will end with the قبل طلوع الشمس. That is the last prayer of the night. That is the last prayer of the night, and the beginning prayer of the day, that is the Fajr prayer. It will be before the sunrise. And the last prayer of the day will be قبل طلوع الشمس, قبل غروب الشمس, before the sunset. So this, it does not give you the particular prayer, which prayer should you read. It gives you how can I say, the absolute timing of all prayers. That all prayers begin from the morning, that is dawn, and before the sunrise, you have to perform that morning prayer, and then the last prayer ends with Asr, that's qabla ghurub shams, the day and the night prayer. This is what this ayah talks about. This is the answer you wanted, or?
No, maybe I made a wrong reference, but I did.
No, what was, okay, forget about the reference. What was your question?
No, my question was that, okay, this one to Aha, but I just wanted to fit in whether this one goes there.
Where?
Whether this Quranic reference is appropriate for this one, or is it
okay.
in general, or this one is specific, this one is general?
No, for waqtu subh. Qabla tulu'i shams, this is the general ruling. Okay? And this what we are reading here is the describing of that general ruling. What does it mean qabla tulu'i al-fajr? Before the sun, before the dawn, the true dawn, what does that mean? Because Quran al-Karim, it gives you the general ruling. Then the ahadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam gives you specification of those rulings. So for the Al-Quran does not tell you what is Fajr al-Sadiq, what is Al-Fajr al-Kadhib. But in one ayat, Allah discuss about this, about
I won't take much of your time. I think I saw it, the English rendering in Surah Baqarah, but I do not remember.
Okay.
I'll find
In
it.
Quran, Allah talks about the Sehri timing in Surah Al-Baqarah and in second Surah. وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا. Once you open your roza, that is after Maghrib, you can continue eating. Okay? وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا. Keep eating, keep drinking as much as you want. Okay? حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطُ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ. Okay? So this is the technique Sahaba radiallahu ta'ala anhum they used to define whether it is Fajr or it is not yet Fajr. So they used to tie themselves with ropes. Okay? One is white and one black rope. So in the morning, if they still don't see the white rope, they used to know that it's still dark. It's still dark, so it is not Fajr. But if they are able to see the white rope, then they used to judge that it is Fajr time, because now the light has spread, we can see the white rope and the darker, it is Fajr time now. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the Fajr Sadiq and Fajr al-Kadhib. Okay, Fajr Sadiq, it is Surah Baqarah, you're right, it is in Surah Baqarah, but the number is from 186. 186, okay? حتى يتبين وكلوا واشربوا حتى يتبين لكم الخيط الأبيض من الخيط الأسود. So people used to tie the white and black ropes. Ropes, you understand that? Thread. Okay. So in the morning, for them to know whether it is Fajr or Sadiq, they used to look towards those two ropes and threads. And if they don't see the white one, so they used to assume that it is still Al-Fajr Al-Kadhib. It is not time for Fajr prayer. But if they see the white thread, they used to assume that, okay, now the light has spread, that's why we can see this white thread, and they take it as a Fajr Al-Sadiq. So from that time, you are not allowed to eat or drink anything. Is okay?
That was our looking for that.
So, chalo apne dimag garam kar diya. ठीक है? But never feel guilty whenever you asking question, huh? Okay? And never think that maybe I'll be annoyed or whatever. If I'm annoyed, then I think I should not be in front of you, okay? Because I'm here to learn from one another. So any question, I'll be very happy, because you are challenging me. You are giving more. No, challenge, I don't mean that you are confronting me. I mean you are giving me the habit of going back and do more research about things. So whenever I face any question from you people, I don't take it as an offense or as a bad thing. No, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. And I learn so many things from your questions sometimes, because what comes in your mind does not come in my mind. You understand? And sometimes I may give you a very simple answer, but when I go home I spend 2-3 hours. I'm sorry I'm telling you this, but this question I've given to you now, just 10 or maybe 5-6 minutes, but I'll go and spend more than 5-10 books. I'll just go and just see the details about these things, so that if someone else asks me the same question in future, I'll be in a position to give him or her in details about it. So it's not a problem. Don't feel offended, my brother, my sisters, to ask any question, inshallah. Okay. So let us take this, the last thing. Any question from my sisters here? Okay, so
regarding Fajr prayer, suppose we are performing Fajr prayer after the prescribed time, that is after sunrise.
Sunrises.
Do we have to do the 2 rakat sunnah and two
Yeah, because the two rakat before first Fajr prayer, they are sunnatul mu'akkada. So if you miss this Fajr prayer, so you perform the two sunnah, not as a replacement of that sunnah, okay? Because there's no replacement of the sunnah. The replacement is only for farz, you understand? But because it is a full package, as like for example Isha, we have witr also. If you miss Isha, so you perform a full package of Isha plus witr prayer. So for Fajr also you perform the two rakat, before Fajr, and then you perform the further rakat of Fajr. Not for 2 rakat for Sunnah and 2 rakat for Fajr. So the second is Waqtu Dhuhri. Waqtu al-Dhuhri, the time of the noon prayer. So what is Waqtu Dhuhri? Read with me. Min zawali shamsi ila an yasira dhillu kulli shay'in mithlayhi aw mithlahu. Waqtu Dhuhr. What is the time of Dhuhr? Okay. The time of Dhuhr is min zawali shams, from the zawal of sun. Okay. And there is one mistake which we do. One mistake we commonly do when the sun is here noon. When it is noon, we say it is zawal time. It is wrong. Zawal is when the sun moves side after the noon. The noon is when the sun is completely on your head. If you see like this, the sun will be just right on top of your head, and your shadow will be completely down on your legs. Your shadow will not be on right or left. It will be completely as a round thing just below your body. That is exactly the time of noon. Zawal is when that sun goes right or goes left. Where is the sunset? Where the sunset? This here or here? Here. Okay. So the sun is moving that side. When the sun is exactly on top of your head, that is istiwa. We call it waqtul istiwa. Istiwa. That is the noon. Istiwa. And when sun moves slightly, even if 1 second slightly toward the sunset direction, that's what we call zawal. We call it zawal. So the Dhuhr prayer the time of Dhuhr prayer starts from the time of zawal. Once the sun moves toward the sunset after the noon, after the istiwa, that is the beginning of Dhuhr prayer. We don't have this term of istiwa in Creole. We just say zawal. But zawal is when the sun has already moved. It's not when the sun is just on top of your head. When the sun is on top of your head, that we call it noon in English. And in Arabic, in fiqh term, we call it istiwa. Istiwa means upright, okay, just on top of your head. And once it goes side towards the sunset direction, so this is zawal. And the zawal, that is the time of zuhr. Okay? So min zawal shamsi, the dhuhr prayer starts from the zawal of the sun. Okay? From istiwa, from noon towards sunset direction. Once the sun moves, and how do you know that? You know that by your shadow. You know that by your shadow. When the sun is on top of your head, upright there, your shadow will be just below your body. This shadow will not be right or left. It will be exactly down on your body. And when the sun moves toward the sunset, then you see your shadow is following that sun. You see that your shadow is leaving the posture of your body. The sun is going. The shadow is going on the side or on the right or on the left. So he said that the time of dhuhr is min zawal shamsi, from zawal of the sun, ila an yasira dhillu kulli shay'in mithlayhi. That is the time of zawal, of dhuhr. From zawal till the shadow, an yasira dhillu kulli shay'in. the shadow of everything, not only your shadow, but you can put only this also, istiwa. When it is istiwa, the shadow will be exactly on the bottom of this mobile case. And when it is zawal, you'll see the shadow is moving. Everything does not mean the shadow of human, the shadow of Al-Quran, the shadow of this mobile stand, the shadow of everything. إِلَىٰ أَن يَصِيرَ ظِلُّ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ مِثْلَيْهِ begins from the zawal at midday and ends when the shadow of all things becomes twice as long. Twice as long. So the shadow of everything becomes twice. When you see your shadow has become twice, the shadow has become twice of your shadow, that is the end of Zuhr prayer. That is the end of Zuhr prayer. The Zuhr prayer starts from the zawal, and ends when the shadow of everything became twice as long. So you can have an idea that if you are, for example, 5 feet long, so you can see your shadow is 5 feet long. Okay, so you can have an idea that now it is 10 feet long. So when your shadow becomes 10 feet long, that is the end of Zuhr prayer. That is the end of Zuhr prayer. So there are two rulings here. One is either the shadow of everything becomes twice as long or becomes equal. Okay, becomes equal. So this is the time of the Zuhr prayer. Yes. Okay. So in madrasa we used to put sticks. We used to stab sticks on the earth here, and then we used to see the movement of the shadow. If the shadow becomes twice of the sticks, we say, okay, now we cannot perform. It is Asr prayer now. If you have not performed Zuhr, so Zuhr becomes Qaza, because it is the time of Asr. And if the shadow is still not twice to the length of that the actual shadow, so it means that you still have time to perform Zuhr. So very easy. You don't need any unless when it is too cloudy. I mean the weather is not good. There's no sun or whatever. But still there are experts who can just see the horizons and they can tell this whether this is Zuhr time or. But for us, for me, for example, especially, I must have the sun clear in front of me to know whether it is the time of Zuhr or the time of Asr or whatever. Okay, any question here? My time is over. Sabah has not yet come.
So first, definitely, during the time of Zawal.
No, Zawal. Yeah, we'll come to learn about these things. Which time you should not perform your prayer is coming from. But let me just tell you, since you have asked, the time of Tulu al-Shams, the time of sun rising. Once the sun rises, the time of sun rising, that you should not perform your namaz. Because Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said when the sun rises, it rises in between the horns of Iblis, Shaitan horn. So Iblis becomes happy by saying that if he see anyone worshiping that time, he enjoys and he say, okay, people are worshiping me. You understand? So that's why we should not perform that time. It is not allowed to perform that time. And the time of istiwa noon, that also is the time that we should not perform prayer. And also, again, وَمَا عَلَيْنَا إِلَّا الْبَلَاغُ الْمُبِينُ. Inshallah, we'll continue next time. Inshallah, I hope that to this extent you have understood the timing of prayers, inshallah. So we'll continue next time, inshallah. And next time, inshallah, we'll divide this course for fundamental teachings of Islam and also for the Quran, inshallah. So we can start our Quran lesson, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
पाकिस्तान में बड़ा हुआ था
बड़ी बली हुई थी।
अस्सलाम वालेकुम वरहमतुल्लाहि वबरकातुहू।
तो क्या करें इसको? हाउ टू पुट इट ऑफ? छोड़ो, कुछ उंगली नहीं तो एंड एंड